Welcome to Playback, everybody. My name is Nate.
My name is Brandon.
This is the show where two music producers, me and Brandon, we take turns choosing albums for us to discuss, sometimes debate. Usually not, though, especially not with this one today. Brandon, today was your pick. I'm jealous of this pick, actually, because it's so good. You chose Firehouse Rock by Wailing Souls. So please tell us, what is Firehouse Rock and why did you pick it?
Yeah, man. So Firehouse Rock. So this is what, number 4 of Reggae Summer?
Yep.
Right? So this is the first annual Reggae Summer, the first time that we did it. So we wanted to highlight like the breadth and variety and just like the different important corners of Roots Reggae specifically, right? Which is an era being made in Jamaica from like maybe about 1976 to like 82, 83, something like that. So this album is in the mix, is one of the ones that we're going to talk about because it represents a very, very important, like larger group of albums, of which we're only going to talk about this one, just for variety's sake. This is like, you and I sometimes will play a game called Favorite Best, right? Be like, all right, Tarantino movies, favorite, best, because they're not always the same.
They're not.
You know, like for me, best would be Pulp Fiction. Favorite is probably Hateful Eight.
Okay.
And in no way would I ever make the argument that Hateful Eight is the best one. That's just factually incorrect. However, favorite, yes.
True.
Yeah.
I love that game too, and I think it's a good thought exercise for anybody who, like, are you able to critique something and also separate your own feelings about it, right? Your own subjective feelings with like a more objective take on that piece of work.
Yes. So the reason why I bring that up is because this is my favorite reggae album, period.
I can't fault you there, man. I really can't. And I feel like we were, before the show started, we were kind of laughing about like, what do we even say now? Like, this one's the best reggae album ever made? Like, because we said that about all of them so far.
Yeah. Well, yeah. All the ones that we're going to talk about, they're all viable candidates.
Yeah.
To run in the election of what is the greatest reggae album ever made. Like all of these, no one would think that you're crazy if you support this one, including this. You know, I think a lot of people out there would say like literally the best, the highest quality, the greatest, the most, just like the best one ever. It's Firehouse Rock. Like, that's a viable thing to say.
I'm excited for this episode too, because I think more than any album we've done yet so far on Reggae Summer, we're going to illustrate like point by point why you could make the argument that this is the best one.
Yes. Yes.
We're going to go into like every aspect of the record itself and talk about it and talk about why this is so lauded, why it's so loved and beloved by reggae fans. Ironically, though, doesn't have a Wikipedia page, weirdly.
That's right. Of the 6 that we're doing this year, this is the only one that does not have a Wikipedia page.
Yeah.
Not a lot of info out there compared to what we've already talked about. Exodus, Night Nurse, 2/7's Clash, and then 2 other ones that we're going to talk about. There's way more info out there for those than there is for this album.
Honestly, it was a challenge researching this album, but very satisfying once you did come across stuff, because it almost felt like you were like, I was like panning for gold, and I was like, oh my God, look at, that's channel 1. There's a video of it. Holy fucking shit. We're inside. Yes. We're in the studio. Like, holy fuck.
So this is my favorite reggae album. What is the best one? I honestly don't know, but yeah. I definitely know this is my favorite one. And you and I have talked about this many, many times, and we agree that This album comes from a particular point in history, a particular assembly line of music that was happening in Kingston for a period of like maybe 4 years about. And music that was made in this particular way by these particular people is just the freaking pinnacle of it all.
Yeah.
Right? All the Jamaican history coming all the way from the early 60s and all the previous styles and evolutions of the music that was being played and recorded and sold out of Kingston, like led to this moment. And in our shared opinion, right, like this window, this group right here made the finest stuff to ever be made. And how you know that it's from that particular assembly line that we're talking about here is there's 4 factors to it. It has 4 ingredients. One is that it was recorded at Channel 1 Studios. So it's a recording studio in Jamaica called Channel 1. The second one is that the record producer is a guy named Junjo Laws. The third one is that the backing band is a band called Roots Radics. And the fourth one is that the mix engineer who mixed the album is a guy called Scientist.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those 4 things, Channel 1, Junjo Laws, Roots Radics, Scientist. And they made many, many records every year for this period, like between like 78 or 9 until like 82 or 3 about.
It was like 4 years.
Just bam, 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 bam.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you talk about the like assembly line of it. It's like mind blowing how much music they just plowed through during this period. And like, not to make it sound like, a lot of times with like assembly line stuff, you get the sense that you could probably lose something in like quality wise. Mm-hmm. It's like, not really with this.
Right. Right. No, that's a good point. Normally the idea of music being made in a assembly line fashion would be something that you would associate with music that you don't like, right?
No, yeah.
Music that like lacks soul or spirit or like, something.
And it's like, it is kind of music by committee too. It's like a whole group of people being like, they all have jobs to do and they're all doing it collectively. And like a lot of times I feel like that without like a really, really central figure who like arguably in this case could be seen as Junjo Laws, but like,
yeah,
even he had like just like a role to fill, right? Like, because you still have Roots Radics, right? You still have Scientist. I don't think Scientist was consulting Junjo Laws when he was mixing the record necessarily. Like,
I doubt
because
it. I've met
like,
the guy and I can't picture him really consulting.
No.
Taking a lot of input from others.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah. And also because like the sense I get from Channel 1 was that this is like, not that they didn't mix records there, because they did. They mixed plenty. But like, man, I watched some interviews and it was like Flabba Holt talking about how like there were days where they would track 35 backing tracks in a day, right? They would start at like 10 a.m. and they'd leave at 4 a.m., right?
Wow.
And this is a 7-day round-the-clock studio, right? This is 7 days a week. It's a lot like we talked about like Joe Gibbs, like how there's just guys on standby and that's their full-time job is they play bass at the studio every day, you know?
Yeah. And so, this happened, this is not unique to Jamaica. This is actually a thing that if it's unique to anything, it's sort of this period of time, right? It's like the 50s, 60s, and 70s more than anything. Because, like we talked about this in our episode when we talked about Black Moses by Isaac Hayes, right? Stax Records and Motown Records. And there's examples like this all over the world. But particularly in this time, this was just kind of like where the record industry was at in general, globally, which is that things sort of work in a record label-based format or a recording studio-centric format rather than an artist-centric format.
Yeah,
right. Which is that's what we're used to seeing in music, like from the 90s, right? Mm-hmm. Where like where what is important is Nirvana. What's important is Radiohead. Like, it doesn't matter where or when or with who Kurt Cobain is making music. What is important is that Kurt Cobain made it, therefore, end of story, right? Yeah. This is not like that. This is, and we were sort of talking about this before we started recording, how it's interesting that this is such a legendary album, and the Wailing Souls, it's their name on the front, and they are such legendary singers. Next year will be 60 years of Wailing Souls singing together. They're still touring. And this is undoubtedly their most famous, most successful
their best
album, their best album. It's the one that put them on the map. It's the one that they're still remembered for, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they are among the least like important figures involved in the making of this album.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
It is. It's really interesting and really unique. And like, I can't think of a ton of examples where that is the case. At least in something that like I would contend is like such a remarkable record, where like the central artist might be at the very bottom of the totem pole in terms of like things about it that make it what it is that I like so much about it. You know what I mean?
It resembles all the other music from this era of record making, right?
Yeah.
I mean, think about a Sinatra record. The actual making of it. He wasn't even involved in writing the freaking lyrics or writing the actual songs. He had less to do with it. At least Wailing Souls actually wrote these songs that they're singing.
There's so many things that they bring to this that make it so fucking special.
Yeah, the message and the performance.
It just so happens that the other aspects about this record that also make it incredible, for me and my taste personally, given that the Wailing Souls, this is their masterpiece. This is them at their best, right? But for me and my taste, even with that, these other elements that we're going to go into are so amazing.
Like those four aspects that we're talking about: the studio, the producer, the backing band, and the mix engineer.
Yeah.
And all the other people involved, right? All the other employees at the studio and everyone else involved. That group of people, they made music of this like profound quality and just like this sublime accomplishment over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Right. And the Wailing Souls were one of the fifth component of that, which was rotating.
Like Don Carlos Day-to-Day Living, it's the same thing. It's the whole group, same group, but you got Don Carlos singing and writing songs and stuff instead of Wailing Souls.
I mean, right. If we just keep list some more of them. Okay, there's an album called Gunman by Michael Prophet.
Unbelievable record.
We mentioned Mundell by Hugh Mundell. There's an album called Folly Lover by Johnny Osborne. There's a little album you may have heard of called Police and Helicopter by John Holt.
Yep.
There's Yellow Man.
Dude, so many Yellow Man
Zunga
records.
Zunga Zunga Zang.
Yeah. And Mr. Yellow Man, which is my favorite Mr. Yellow Man. Fucking love that album.
There's so many.
Yeah.
Okay. This is something to Google. And by the way, like in this episode, we're going to be mentioning a lot of names. We're going to be getting into a lot of things that we're just because we don't have time.
Yeah.
And just because it'll get too convoluted for a single discussion. We're going to mention a lot of stuff that we're not going to go deep into. But like this is why this album is important, and this is why this Four Horsemen concept that I'm mentioning is so important, because it's a confluence of like so many prominent and important figures in the Jamaican music scene at the peak of its quality. So there's so many people involved in this story, in the story of this album and everything behind it. So Google everybody that we mention if you want to find out more, because there's way more knowledge to drop than we're even going to get close to talking about today. over 50% of the people involved with this have passed
gone,
away.
Yeah.
Right. So, all of us who have an interest in the story staying alive, like learn about it, if for no other reason than that you can bore somebody at a party and be that annoying person that only one person is interested in talking to at the party because you get to share some knowledge and pass it on.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. This is a nerd power podcast here.
It is. Yes. The Four Horsemen, they always come with a plague of some kind. And I would argue our first horseman, Channel One Studios,
Yes.
brought the plague of fidelity upon our house, upon everyone. A plague of sonic quality and perfection prior to unknown, to Jamaica. Prior to its inception. I think we should talk about a little bit about we should touch on like the history of Channel One and what it is.
Take a step back. So the first important recording studio in this bigger story is Studio One, and why Studio One is important in the history of Jamaican music is that was the first recording studio on the island to be owned by someone who's not white.
Yeah.
Okay. Prior to that, it was, if you're from Jamaica and you want to get your music recorded and played, it's got to pass through the filter of, the upper class, the 1% who owns all the means of production. Right. So, and back then, I think like, nowadays in 2025, I think Jamaica is like about 79% of the population is black. And I think back then it was like over 90%. So the first recording studio that you didn't need to jump through that hoop, now over 90% of the population is now producing their own music for their own consumption with no middle person involved, right? And so that was a boom because that coincided with the country becoming independent from Great Britain and becoming its own sovereign nation. So that's when ska came out. That evolved into rocksteady.
Big ska and rocksteady studio, like pretty much like the reason for it, exactly. In my opinion.
Studio One is unquestionably in the big picture of everything is the most important studio, right? It's like
it's like Abbey Road or something, or it's even more important in the context of Jamaican history. It's more important than that even because.
Yeah,
there's a billion studios in England you could go to. Abbey Road just had the Beatles, but
it's like how when it comes to American history, how important is the Declaration of Independence? It's like, well, it wouldn't even exist if it wasn't for that. So it's pretty important.
It's pretty important. Yeah,
that's where the Scatolites and all the other producers and engineers and everybody involved there, they literally invented ska there.
Yeah.
Which is what, which evolved into rocksteady, which evolved into reggae, which evolved into this whole roots reggae era that we're discussing here. So in the meantime, in those years throughout the 60s, throughout the early to mid 70s, the whole island is dominated by, you got Studio One, you have Treasure Isle, you have like Dynamic Sounds, you have Joe Gibbs, and just a bunch of these other, there's sort of this ecosystem of recording studios. And why Channel One is so fascinating is because in this era of the late 70s and the early 80s, this one studio basically rises up and just demolishes all of them.
Yeah.
in terms of popularity, significance, how relevant their output is, just like single-handedly dethrones all the older studios before.
Makes the other studios' output irrelevant.
Yeah.
Basically poaches all their artists, or not. That's not like they went out of their way to poach them, but like all their artists started going to them. You know, like it was like,
that's where it's happening.
That's where it's happening. Yeah. And like the Who Kim brothers, who are the creators of Channel One, in their initial failure, what they did is they did a scout trip, right? They went to Dynamic, they went to Treasure Isle, they went to all these spots, right? They went to Joe Gibbs, they went everywhere, and basically just took notes on like, oh, that's a cool piece of gear. Writing this down, I'm going to get that. Oh, that's a cool piece of gear. I'm going to keep an eye out for that, right?
And why do they need to write it down like that? Because they don't know anything about making music.
Yeah.
Technically,
yes.
Music at all. They have no background in the music industry whatsoever.
So it's four brothers, and you could remind me the names. Do you remember the names?
Yeah. So Joseph Who Kim is the oldest.
Yeah.
He owned the studio.
Yep.
And like ran the business of it. Ernest Who Kim's the second oldest. He ended up being like the engineer, the house engineer.
Yes.
Paul Who Kim, who was the third, he ran the sound system, which is one of those topics that I mentioned that we're going to bring up. We're not going to go into it.
Yeah.
Sound system. Just look up sound system culture in Jamaica.
Honestly, look up
whole thing.
Look up Channel One sound system. It survives to this day. It's still out there. It's the only aspect of this that survives, as far as I can tell. Anyway,
so Paul Who Kim, you're right. He ran the sound system, and then Kenneth Who Kim. He's the youngest one. I think during this period of time, like he was pretty young. I don't know if he was directly involved. He got more involved later in the 80s when he got older. Yeah.
As far as I could tell, I believe that they are second generation Jamaicans, right? But of Chinese descent.
I don't actually know how long their family had been in Jamaica, but these four guys, they're born in Jamaica.
What I was getting to is they basically have no musical background. Like I believe,
right?
Either their parents or they,
At
like
all.
their family, like they were involved in all kinds of little businesses and hustles to make money. One of them being like gambling. Like they owned like
gambling machines.
Yeah, that you could like at bars and stuff. It was that, and I'm forgetting some of the other things they were involved in, but it was like
ice cream parlor.
Yeah, but nothing of like the scope of like a recording studio, which is crazy.
Right.
And so the brothers, looking for, I think gambling was outlawed at a certain point in Jamaica in like the mid 60s or early 70s or something like that. Gambling was outlawed, so they had to shift. They had to pivot and find a new way to make money.
Right.
I'm unclear how they acquired the property of Channel One, because I've heard that it was like their house that they convert. Like I heard that.
Oh, interesting.
That it was actually because it's in a residential neighborhood. Like it's just surrounded.
In Trenchtown.
Yeah, it's just surrounded by
Yep.
houses and stuff and apartments and things like that. And if you look at the facade of the building, it certainly doesn't look like it's like basically it shares walls with like other buildings and shit.
That like little residential like driveway parking area, like a little inner yard thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it appears to have at least at one point been a house or an apartment complex or something maybe. And I don't know how they acquired it, but it could have been just a house that they owned or something. Maybe it was like a rental for their family or something. I don't even know. But something really interesting that caught my ear during this research, I forget who said it, but somebody under their breath, because you know how, so on the front of Channel One, it's this really famous decal that says Channel One Studios, and it's just like a big black wall, and in white it says Channel One Studios, and it's like their phone number and all this stuff.
Yeah,
and
painted on the front of the building. Yeah,
exactly. But the way you were to get in the studio, or one of the ways to get in the studio, there was like a little half door, right? It was a door. Imagine a door bifurcated in the middle, and you could only open the bottom half, and then you basically crawl under the door, and you walk in that way. And I always thought that was so weird and so odd as like a architectural thing. And I heard someone under their breath be like, "Oh, this is because it used to be a motorcycle shop. Like it used to be a garage, right? It just used to be like a motorcycle garage, and people, I guess you could just roll your bike in that way or something. I don't know."
Yes. So there's a scene in the movie Rockers. Okay, here's another thing that we're going to mention and not go that deep.
Can't talk about Rockers.
Watch the movie Rockers if you've never seen it.
Which we did a commentary track for on the This Is Rad podcast. Go check out This Is Rad. It was from a few years ago.
Yes. There's a scene where the main character, Horsemouth, enters channel 1, and the camera follows him going this exact path that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And there's all these motors. There's this dude's working on motorcycles there. Gregory Isaacs is hanging out there and says what's up to him, and all these. And then he goes inside and he talks to Robbie Shakespeare. He's like, "Oh, hey, I got a session for you on Monday. Come by." And the camera follows this exact path that you're talking about.
So it was like an active motorcycle shop during the Channel 1 period, and it was just next door or something? Because I can't think of a more unideal business neighbor for a recording studio than a fucking shared wall with a motorcycle repair shop. Like, that's fucking crazy.
It's one thing to have neighbors that are working on engines while you're trying to record sounds.
Yeah.
But it's another thing that
a motorcycle
is your simultaneous business from the same premises.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
man,
really quirky, funny, weird building. But so you go in, and so the thing that they learned from trying to initially start the studio was that they bought the wrong shit, or some of the shit they bought was wrong, and some of the shit they bought they just didn't know how to use, right?
Exactly. A huge part of their early failures in their first few years, it went horribly.
Yeah.
A huge part of it was human error.
They just didn't read the manual. Like, they didn't. Right. They bought this huge, beautiful API board, and apparently the original, probably one of the Who Kim brothers, one of the first, he just kind of was just like, "I don't know, I'll figure this out." And he kind of was just like,
it wasn't one of them. So
okay.
Ernest Who Kim ended up being the engineer, and that's when it started working well.
Okay, gotcha.
So there was another guy that they had originally, and someone who's not part of the family, and like he did not know how to work this stuff right. And Joseph and Ernest and Paul, they didn't know enough about it yet to even know that this guy that they hired is fucking it up, and he doesn't know how to work it right. They didn't know enough to know that he doesn't know, right? So everyone involved, this is a recording studio where it's like all that we got is some money and the desire to have a recording studio. That's all we got, right? And they just figured it out by trial and error, and there was a lot of error. And it took them years to get to the point where now they're actually putting out recordings that are viable. Because like how you mentioned, Bunny Lee, here's another name, Bunny Lee, great record producer, came through and recorded an album for Alton Ellis there. And the engineer was so
inept
that he recorded it onto the tape in a way that like it could not even be used. It's like, dude, I can't use these recordings. I can't release this shit.
It was like a waste.
And so they had to just abandon the record that they recorded.
They went from kind of an old, shitty 4-track tape machine, which, if you don't know what that is, it's the device they're recording all the music onto, right? And there's only 4 channels, right? So you can have 4 instruments, and if you want to create more room to do overdubs or something, you have to keep a channel open and then record the other 3 onto that one, or some combination of those onto one, and it's permanently combined there. And then that opens up more channels, and it can easily become noisy and complicated, and you have to really fucking know what you're doing. Like look to the mid 60s Beatles records for like how to do that in a way that is like brilliant and genius. But like it's a really hard way to go about recording.
Because they did that at Abbey Road Studios, where there was just more people than they needed that were just geniuses at how to do this.
Not people who didn't,
NASA engineers doing this.
Not people who just didn't know how to use the equipment at all, right? So going from that to the best hi-fi studio in Jamaica, right, in less than 10 years. And there's two things they did. One was they upgraded from that 4-track machine to a 16-track machine, right, which in the 70s was much more commonplace, much easier to get a hold of, although I can't speak for how easy they were to get a hold of in Jamaica at the time. But they were much more common at that point. And what that allowed for...
Joe Gibbs had one.
Yeah, and what that allowed for was every single component of your song can be recorded. You can have 8 channels of just drums, right? Not one channel of drums, not one mic capturing the whole drum set. You could have 8 microphones capturing every detail and nuance of the drum kit, right? And then you still have 8 channels for bass and guitars and horns and vocals and all the other stuff that you would want to feature on your record. And they each get their own space and track and room to breathe, and they don't have to be folded onto the other elements of your tracking mix or your mix, right? So that was one thing they did. The second thing they did was they opened the manual to the console. Ernest.
Now Ernest Hukim is coming in. Now Ernest is the engineer.
Ernest, he found the manual, or someone gave him the manual that came with the API console, and he read it and he learned how to use it, right?
Look, you guys, this works miracles, okay? The only two things that you really, really need to know when it comes to having a good life with electronics, one is what's called power cycle. Turn it off and turn it back on. And the second thing is read the manual.
Read the manual, dude.
Read the manual. It is the magic sauce in this rags to riches, from a pauper to a prince, like just success story of Channel One.
Yeah.
Going from a complete disaster of a recording studio to leading the way and completely revolutionizing and setting a new standard for sound quality and recording quality on the island because he read the manual.
I don't know the exact model of API board that they had, but API consoles are, I believe, from England, right? Am I right about that? I think they're from England, and they're very colored. And what I mean by that is they have a sound to them, right? They have a desirable sound to them,
they
right?
impart a sound on the music, on the sound that is passing through them. The opposite is some consoles are transparent, meaning they do not leave a sonic stamp on it. But Nate's talking about they color the sound.
Yeah. To the point where some artists might go out of their way to go to a certain studio because that sound is at that studio. Like when artists, a lot of times I feel like artists can speak in these really esoteric terms and really abstract terms. And a lot of times I feel like what they're specifically talking about is that studio has a sound or a vibe or whatever. It's literally the gear they have, imparts a certain sonic quality, right? On the recordings that is super desirable. And what that takes the form of is saturation, right? And EQs. They have there's built-in EQs in these consoles, and it's all analog. Well, everything was analog back then, but it's all a proprietary preamp, gain stage.
The preamp is a big part of it.
Preamp's a huge part of it. A lot of people will
Google that. We're not going to go into what a preamp is, but
but there are just aspects of this console that people will buy on their own just to have. I just want the EQ sound of an API board. I want the preamp of an API board. I want whatever, right?
Even with nothing dialed in, even with the EQ completely flat and you're not even pushing the preamp hard or anything, just the sound of this going through in the input of the channel of the mixer and out the other side, just that gives it a quality. So once they fixed their their technical problems. Okay. Then shortly after that, there was an album that they recorded there at Channel One that really put them on the map. This is one of the biggest and most important reggae albums ever.
I think I know what one you're talking about.
And it's one that we're not going to be talking about in our first annual Reggae Summer. It's an album called Right Time.
I knew it.
By the Mighty Diamonds.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So came out in 76.
This is the one that put the studio on the map. Like, exactly. For sure.
It was revolutionary in its fidelity, its quality, and it just has a different vibe. One of the things about Right Time is how sparse the instrumentation is. Okay. So, like, for example, in our last episode, we were talking about 2/7's Clash by Culture, right? And that came out at in the first couple months of 77, right? So that actually came out like a matter of months after Right Time came out. 2/7's Clash represents like kind of the way that things were done, right? It's not strange. And we talked about how there are 16 musicians and they're all playing on every song and they're all playing at the same time on every song, right? Right Time at times has literally 3 people playing in the rhythm section and then the singers, and that's it. There's a drummer, there's a bass player, there's someone playing piano, and that's all. And then these 3 guys singing. So it's revolutionary in how it's stripped down, how much space there is. And by the way, you can only make that space and that emptiness in between the notes sound good if your recording equipment fidelity is nice. Yeah. Because otherwise it just sounds like in between everything.
It's true.
Right? You got to be able to appreciate those quiet moments. So Right Time was like the beginning of what would come at the end of the 70s and the early 80s, which is the next sound that would come out and dominate Jamaican music after reggae, which is dancehall. And one of the most prominent aspects of what makes dancehall and what makes it different from reggae is the sparseness of the music. There's way less happening. It's way more guided to the drums are right here, the bass is right here, there's a little musical motif right here, and then there's a dude just chatting on the microphone. Toasting on the microphone, DJing on the microphone. So there's another thing, a DJ. The whole rest of the world, the DJ is the guy who presses the buttons. In Jamaica, for some reason, the DJ is the guy holding the mic. What we call an MC, in Jamaica, that's called a DJ. Anyway, so Channel 1 is sort of the cradle of dancehall. Okay? This is where things started to get musically focused down, fewer musical components, and the power and how hard each single musical component hits gets elevated. How hard do the drums hit you? That goes way up. How hard does the bass hit you? That goes way up. This dude skanking on the guitar. This dude playing this piano. How hard does that hit? Goes way up, right?
Yeah, the whole emphasis changes. It becomes less like I think less like rootsy, in the sense of like that, like message oriented, like that's still in there, but it's less. There's less of an emphasis of that too, and it's just more emphasis of like dancing, like how do we make the best dance music possible? Is like the emphasis.
Totally, because so Wailing Souls and Right Time by Mighty Diamonds, all this stuff. This is before it turned to dancehall. This is still reggae. This is still roots reggae. Okay, so everything that they're singing about this is like what we were talking about before. This is from the Bible.
Totally.
This is spiritual. This is political. Everything. Dancehall. What these DJs are doing. Think of Yellow Man. Think of Barrington Levy. Think of the others. What they're talking about. It includes that. and it's informed by that, and it doesn't leave that out. But first and foremost, it's, yo, man, let's party.
Yeah.
We're young. We're good looking. We got all this beer. We got all these drugs. We got these big ass speakers. Let's fucking vibe, man. Let's have a good time, right? And let's flex. Let's demonstrate our abilities. Have you heard what I can do on a microphone? Can you believe how fucking good I am with this microphone? Can you believe this shit? Like, just showing off, you know, like all that stuff.
And they go from like singers to like, it's not like they're not singing, but they're essentially rapping, a lot of them. Like it's a way more, there's a lot in common with hip hop too, like around this, and it's, you know, concurrent with the rise of hip hop, the earliest hip hop too.
I also want to mention that the Who Kim brothers, something that is like something that they represent, that's a cool opportunity to talk about and to educate people about who don't already know. They represent a contingent of Jamaicans that have such a huge role and played such a huge role in the history of Jamaican music, from ska all the way through reggae and afterward, which are Chinese Jamaicans, right? We talked a lot, so much in our previous episodes about how important, you know, the philosophies of Marcus Garvey and the Black identity is to Jamaican music, and it's inextricable from that. And it's just a really cool thing to know and to appreciate that that, you know, members of another community of Jamaicans had like a really, really important role in making all of this music happen and get developed and get played and get recorded and get sold, you know? For example, Randy Chin. So there's Randy's studio is another one of the huge freaking prolific studios that we didn't talk about, all the way back from the ska era. Him and his wife, Pat Chin, like, you know, one of the mama and papa places to just recording and outputting all this stuff. Clive Chin is their son, carried on after them. Mikey Chung is one of the greatest Jamaican guitarists to ever live.
Yeah.
And also Tony Chin.
Tony Chin
and Mikey Chung. Okay, two. So Mikey Chung in particular played with like on all the Black Uhuru records, played in their live band. He's on like probably most of Sly and Robbie's productions. Tony Chin still is the guitarist in Soul Syndicate.
Yeah. We've both gotten to meet Tony before. I've met Tony before. He's awesome.
He lives in Southern California. Got to be in sessions with him. Leslie Kong is so he co-wrote The Israelites with Desmond Decker. All the Toots and the Maytals songs, 5446, that's my number. This is Leslie Kong Productions, okay? He's one of the most important producers from the ska era, rocksteady, early reggae. Byron Lee, of a band called Byron Lee and the Dragonaires. He was in Dr. No, the first James Bond movie.
Oh, in the movie?
He's in the movie.
Whoa.
When they're in Jamaica and there's a band playing, that's Byron Lee and the Dragonaires.
Oh, I think I know exactly what scene you're talking about too.
He's on camera. He's like singing.
Oh wow.
He was like the biggest band leader in Jamaica, like in the early 60s. Justin Yap, he wrote and recorded and produced like the biggest early Scatolites songs. We were talking earlier about how there is none of this without the Scatolites. Justin Yap was a dude who like wrote those songs along with them. So anyway, and them and the Who Kim brothers, it's just, I don't know, it's just really interesting to me. And everyone that I mentioned, you know, these are people of Chinese descent, and their Chinese identity is absolutely something that can't be like extricated from them. But every single one of them that I mentioned, they're not from China. They are Jamaican. Henry Junjo lost.
If Channel One brought the plague of fidelity upon the people of Jamaica, what plague?
This is good. I like how I brought up the Horsemen and you're dropping which plague. This is good.
What plague do you surmise Junjo Laws brought? The plague of good vibes, the plague of dancing.
I got it.
Yes,
I know what plague he brought.
What did he bring?
Junjo brought youth.
Yes.
Okay. So here, let's you're gonna hate me, but just to put this in context.
Well, I mean,
take. Well, that's a given.
Good.
Just to take one step back.
Yeah.
So we talked about the Who Kim brothers and that they owned and operated Channel One Studios.
Yeah.
So this whole magical period of the golden era of Channel One's output, this is a very bittersweet thing.
It is.
Because one of the ingredients of allowing for all of this music and all these people to be there in the studio and be making what they made that came out of the studio was the fact that the Who Kim brothers actually had stepped back from their day-to-day involvement in the studio.
Yeah.
So during the time of, Right Time, what we talked about, their first big, badass, amazing album that came out and all that stuff, they're still running everything. 1977, the third brother who ran the sound system, thank you, Paul, was murdered. He's another one of these figures that we mentioned in our Exodus episode, Night Nurse episode, right, where we talked about how dangerous this place was, right? This studio is in Trenchtown. The studio is in Kingston, Jamaica in the late 70s. This music came from an environment of gang warfare.
Yeah.
Guns, murderous people running around.
Political gang warfare.
Right.
Like imagine if MAGA was running around shooting people who disagreed with them. It was shit like that. Like it's that gnarly.
That actually did happen in LA.
That's
recently.
true. Actually, they do kind of do that sometimes, don't they?
But to an extent that we have never even close to experienced.
Yeah.
Not even I shouldn't even draw the comparison at all because it's not even the same situation at all.
Yeah.
But so yeah, Paul was, as part of a robbery, somebody shot him, somebody killed him. And this was this really hit the rest of his brothers really hard. And long story short, without trying to, tell their tale for you, they weren't as involved in the day-to-day goings on inside the studio. So that meant then that there was a lot of room and a lot of space for other people to come in and carry on being the ones to be involved in the day-to-day operations, to keep producing records, keep recording stuff, keep putting out stuff. So right away, who was doing that was Sly and Robbie. Okay, so during the mid 70s, up until about 78-ish, Sly and Robbie were running things there. They played on Right Time.
Yeah,
and that's what happened in the movie Rockers when he goes in and he sees Robbie Shakespeare. He comes out and he talks to him. Hey, I got a session for you on this day. Be here at this time. And he's running things because at that time he was, right? Then they start playing, I would assume either touring with Peter Tosh or touring with Black Uhuru, maybe. No, maybe Black Uhuru didn't hit as big yet. Probably touring with Peter Tosh. And sort of that thing we talked about before in the Night Nurse episode, if you leave your daily job, you run the risk of losing it to another up-and-comer. Yeah. And that is exactly what happened with Sly and Robbie. They stopped recording at Channel 1 every day, and guess who started recording at Channel 1 every day? And about 77, 79. Roots Radics. That's when Roots Radics came in and became the house band of Channel 1. So they weren't always. It was during this time. And during this same time, this is when Junjo Laws came in, and him, Linville Thompson, some others, they started to be the ones to be the producers running the recording sessions day after day after day after day. Because Joseph and Ernest Hukim, I mean, they
were essentially like depressed.
Yeah,
they were sad.
They were grieving their brother.
Yeah, and they couldn't do it anymore. They lost interest in it.
It's really sad, man.
Yeah.
So and that's why I say that it's bittersweet, because if that hadn't happened, Junjo may never have ever. There may have not ever been room for him, but he was younger. Okay, so in '78. When he comes, he's 30 years old. You're in a music industry where most of the heavy hitters who are still making the records and who have the biggest clout in this recording industry had been around at the time of the Scatolites. These dudes have been doing this for like the last 15 years, right? When Junjo was a child, when Flabba Holt and Style Scott and all the members of the Roots Radics, they were kids during the ska era, right? So Junjo getting a little window, getting the ability to kind of run things without anyone else looking over his shoulder, without anyone superseding his decisions. Him being in there and whatever he decided and however he asked the engineer and however he dialed the things in, no one changed it, brought about this new era and this new sound. And because he had a vision, like so many young people do, they see things in a way that no one else is seeing it. And if nobody interferes with what they're trying to do, they make something revolutionary.
And they're keyed in. You know, he was keyed into like, hey man, like this style of this era of reggae, just like rocksteady and ska before it, it's on the way out. Like, and it's got to evolve, right? And he saw that on the horizon, and he was correct, right? He helped usher all that stuff we're talking about with MCs and Yellow Man and Ika Mouse and guys like that.
Ika Mouse is
he ushered that whole era in that honestly gave reggae music legs into the 80s that I don't think it would have had it not been for him and people like him who correctly saw the writing on the wall and were like, yeah, this is, you know, like let's shift focus here, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. This is the planets aligning to plop a recording studio in the lap of someone who's new, right? And who's young and new, right at the time when things are ready to change.
That combination of like, so now you have this insanely high fidelity studio set up with young blood coming in. You have all the ingredients to like capture lightning in a bottle. That is what you get. And that is the result of, that is what Firehouse Rock is. That is what, Wadu Dem, Ika Mouse, that is Day-to-Day Living, Don Carlos. That is so many of these, a lot of the Gregory Isaacs records that we talked about in the Gregory Isaacs episode were recorded at Channel 1, right? The same fucking story. It was Roots Radics and all these guys, right? And it was, he set the table for that to happen, you know?
The thing about Junjo is he's the one where it's the most hard to define now. What exactly did he do, right? He's undoubtedly the through line of this magical output because all the other records that were not produced by him don't sound the same. So what exactly, but like you're saying, you can tell, it's very clear. What did Scientist do to the music? And we're about to get into it and name some for you so that you can hear it. And same with the backing band and same with the studio itself. But yeah, so it's hard to compare.
I would say that in a lot of ways, like you could kind of link like the equipment and the sound of Channel 1 with Scientist and his ability, even though he mixed this at King Tubby's studio, he mixed it somewhere else. But like like you could kind of put those two things together. And Junjo, I would say and I'm kind of assuming here, but I would assume that his influence is probably more felt on the Roots Radics and the band and the musicians, right? I think he was probably in the mix with them more so than like, oh, hey, put this mic on this kick drum, or fucking, hey, like put some reverb on this element or something like that. Like, I think Junjo was probably a little more, and I've heard he was pretty hands-on, but he was more hands-on in like the musical sense of like, hey, this part should come next, or hey, you should sing this part, or hey, play this, or try this chord, or something like that.
Yeah, and there will be figures like that are in recording studios. I know you've experienced this too, where like the thing that the producer is bringing to it is really their sensibility.
People rip on Rick Rubin all the time because of a recent quote that he said, which someone was interviewing, I think it was like Anderson Cooper or some loser, was like, was
some
like
stupid
some lame
fucking idiot.
Some lame ass framing the question to make him look bad. But someone was asking him like, so you don't know how to play guitar? And he's like, no. He's like, you don't know how to read music? And he's like, no. And he's like, you don't understand really anything about music, do you? And he's like, no. And he was like,
do you know what the knobs on the mixer do? He's like, no.
No, I don't know any of that shit, and I never will learn it either. And they're like, so what do these bands pay you all this money for? And he says, my taste. Which is the dopest fucking answer I've ever heard. That's exactly what it is.
People who know will know that is exactly what you need.
Yeah.
Because you've got a room full of people who can play the strings and who can turn the knobs and who already have all the gear. And we're just sitting there like, what the fuck do we do?
Now what?
We have all this stuff. We've gone to all these schools. We know all this shit. How do we make a classic record that cuts through the hearts of a generation and speaks to the masses? How do we do that? That's the thing that we don't fucking know how to do.
Yeah.
Rick Rubin knows how to do that.
He's the director, and he's the central voice of the thing, right?
And it's my belief that Junjo Laws knew how to do that. He's he's that kind of a person where
I think so too.
He may not be necessarily touching every key on the piano or on the bass guitar, or he may not be tuning the drums. He may not be turning the knobs on the console, but he's no, not like that, like that. Wait, change that. Instead of that, do that. Wait, oh, that was good. Okay, forget everything else. Keep doing that. Mm-hmm. And these are somebody being involved in the room who is doing that. That's what makes the fucking magic.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And that's what makes, when you put on Firehouse Rock, where just song after song and all these other records from this Four Horsemen era that we're talking about, song after song after song, it just hits you. It's like, oh my God, this is where it's at. It's because of all the other crap that they're not doing.
Yeah.
All the other ways that are not dope that they're not doing.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what Rick Rubin brings. And I think that's what Junjo brought.
Absolutely. Scientist is our third horseman of the apocalypse here. And the plague that I believe Scientist brought to the masses was the plague of creativity. An immense vision and ability combining to give you something truly unique. Scientist, I'll get this out of the way. Scientist is like easily one of my favorite music industry figures ever. Like he's one of the most influential engineers, producers on everything that I've ever done, everything I've ever worked on. I'm always thinking like how can I bring
Scientist do? You get out your WWSD bracelet.
Yeah, like how can I bring this closer to his sound and like his sensibilities and stuff like that. and just like an artist in his own right? Like, yes, he was a mix engineer, and he's a recording engineer first and foremost, but like also is like a creative artist who puts out his own records, right? And some of his records, we'll talk about some of them, some of the best dub albums ever made. One of them he named the best dub album in the world, and I find anyone, I defy anyone to argue with him on that title because it's fucking great. So he was important because he was also extremely young. I think he was like in his early 20s, like when this was all going on.
Speaking of youth, when Firehouse Rock was made, Flabba Holt and I assume the rest of the Roots Radics are about 30. Junjo Laws is about 33.
Yeah.
Scientist is probably
20?
About 20 years old.
20, maybe 19.
21, like 19, about in that area.
Yeah. Yeah. Super young. And basically he was an engineer at King Tubby's studio. He was King Tubby's protege. King Tubby being possibly the most brilliant, innovative, genius engineer in the entire scene. I mean, is that
inventive?
Is that a stretch to say? I mean, he was like probably the most capable, the most innovative, the best engineer there probably, like pure engineer that there probably was.
I mean, there's the classic dichotomy: King Tubby and Lee Perry, right? Lee Perry being the right-brained and King Tubby being the left brain. But when you say pure engineer like that, yes.
Yeah, and I'm meaning like the left brainness of King Tubby, which is just like this super analytical, like engineer focused, like understood components and electronics and like how they all worked and went together. Whereas like you have someone like Lee Perry who is like his console and all of his gear is just a means to an end, which is just like getting this amazing creativity out of his brain in a certain way. And that's how he did it, was through the recording console. The reason I love Scientist so much is because he like straddled both of those worlds perfectly. Like his shit does sound immaculate. It is. I defy anybody to tell me that there is like better sounding music engineered by anybody else, King Tubby included, by the way. I love King Tubby, but I prefer Scientist. This is kind of favorite and best kind of deal. Like Tubby might be the best, but Scientist is my favorite.
There you go, favorite and best.
So
it's a fun game.
He had that.
Play it with your friends.
He had that ability, but he also was amazingly creative, like incredibly creative and like fun. Like he had fun ideas. That came through in his music.
He reached into that creative place and was just kind of toying around with things. In a way that King Tubby didn't really do.
Tubby, wouldn't do it. I think King Tubby was very serious from what I gather. Like you
can hear it in his dubs. You can the way that he dubbed. Like there's so much going on. That doesn't mean that King Tubby's dubs were simple. It's just more of It's just more of like he's gonna bury you in a tidal wave of the demonstration of his prowess.
Yeah, totally.
More like like of I will bury you with my abilities. But Scientist is more kind of he has all the technical precision, but he's playing.
It's in service of a vampire spooky album or something,
and also in the way that he dubs, there's like a silliness and a humorousness that's in there too.
Yeah, and he's a little more restrained, a little more refined. Maybe refined isn't the right word, but I would use restrained. Like in his dubs, like Tubby could be very maximalist sometimes, and it could be really big. Some of his dubs, some of them not. He's very varied too. But Scientist, it was just like he's just really tasteful. It's just tasteful and memorable, and like the choices he made as an engineer, especially when in like that artist seat as like a dub engineer, are just like, my needle will wear to a fucking stub before I'm done listening to fucking Scientist records. And so to take someone who has that kind of creative ability and musical know-how,
20.
and he's 20 and he's excited and he's not afraid to fail or try things. So to take this record and then put it in his hands to mix, stroke of genius. For me, above Junjo. Maybe not, maybe Channel 1 is number one that makes this thing special. Junjo's right there too. But for the things that are more like tactile, that you can just hear going on in this record, that make this a special record just on its face. It's not like, oh, I have to analyze this chord progression or like discern this vibe that Junjo had figured out, right? Some of the elements of this mix, I'm fascinated to talk to you about this actually.
Yeah, let's get into this mix.
The mix, it sounds like you took the whole band playing and it's ever so slightly, the overall mix is ever so slightly right heavy. And to counterbalance that, he has the entire reverb in like the left channel that is like a counterweight to it. Whoa. It's so interesting. It's wild. And then sometimes he'll have a stereo reverb, right? Where the band is more centered, but the reverb is like super hard panned left and right. And it's like, and the reverb, he's constantly filtering out the reverb too. It's really wild. And then, just like how wet the record is amazing to me. It is.
What do you mean by wet?
So what I mean by wet is, I
know what you mean, but just so that people are like, what the fuck are you talking about? Yeah.
It is drenched in reverb. There's tons of reverb on this where he'll do stuff where like on some Scientist stuff, he will get control of the mix in a way where he doesn't have to send the entire drum set through an effect processing unit, right? He doesn't have to he doesn't have to send the entire drum set through a delay or a reverb. So you're not getting like kick and the whole drum kit in like a reverb send. You're getting maybe just the snare, right? And in some later productions of the same group, I think you hear that really clearly. Like he would start using these dub elements on like individual pieces, right? In this one, there's songs where like the whole kit is going through this huge, it's either a spring, it could be a plate. I almost think some of this stuff might have a plate on it, but I can't tell, and I'm very curious to ask him at some point. Like a dub is like a complete reworking of a song and a track, right? It oftentimes will have very little shared elements with the original recording, to the point where there's songs from this record on Scientist Rids the World of the Evil Curse of the Vampires that to your ears on the dub version might sound minor to you, whereas the actual song is actually in a major key. That's how different a dub can like transform
he changes the tonal center of the song. Yeah. The way that he mixes it changes what key your brain perceives the song to be in.
So what I'm getting at is that's the scope of how much you can do in a dub remix and how much it can change someone's perception of a song, right? What I love that he does as a mix engineer is he takes elements of dub mixing and he puts them in to the final mix of the song.
Yes.
It's so fucking sick.
But by the way, real quick, just so we know that what we're talking about. So Scientist is the mix engineer of this album. And what that means is there was a day or days where where all of this music was recorded onto a tape at Channel 1 Studios. Then, later, they send that tape. Now that tape goes over to Scientist down the road.
Yep.
In the Waterhouse district. all of the musicians are gone. None of the actual recording of these sounds are taking place anymore.
Yeah, it's done.
He's at a new studio, a new console, a new set of effects and all this stuff, and he's now doing a second stage of creativity, which is he's doing the final mix.
Yeah.
And the thing about Scientist and what Nate's starting to point out here is the degree to which he breathes new life into this. This is taking on a second Super Saiyan form.
Yeah.
from what he's doing to these sounds that were not originally recorded. And so all the spring reverbs and all these details, this is happening in Scientist's hands now during this stage. And so just listen, when you listen to this album, listen to how tasteful the balance of the spring reverb is in terms of its volume, how loud and how quiet it is.
Mm.
The judiciousness to place it just so is so intentional and so tastefully done, because if you point like the little flashlight of your listening attention to the spring, it is so loud and prominent.
It is.
And you can pay attention to it and follow it like how you would follow like the little bouncing ball across the screen if you just want to spend your time listening to the spring.
It's like its own instrument at this point. It's like a guitar or something. You can just be like, oh, there's the spring, right?
Exactly. It's just as, if not at times, more prominent than what the guitar is playing on this album, right?
Yeah.
And at the same time, it completely fades back to the subconscious if you're not paying attention to it.
Yeah.
If you're focusing on the lyrics, kingdom rise and kingdom fall, if you're just singing along, if you're following along to the bass line, if you're just vibing on how dope the drums sound, you're paying on something, it doesn't grab your attention. It settles back into the background.
Yeah.
And anyone who has ever mixed or attempted to mix a song before will understand how to be able to simultaneously achieve both of those things, the margin of error is razor thin.
We just went through this process, Brandon and I. We're in the process of finishing up a new album, and I was so excited with like the performance of a dub that I did. And I brought it to Brandon's studio, and we sat down to listen to it, and we both looked at each other, and we're like, "Holy shit, the spring's too loud!" Like we can't do it, we can't use it.
And,
you know.
And truth be told, the degree to which it was too loud is a tiny amount.
Yeah, it was,
because it didn't obscure the other sounds. You can hear everything else. It's just that it takes
your attention away from.
It takes your attention.
Things. Yeah.
Just that much too much.
Yeah, yeah.
And when you listen to Firehouse Rock, check out how loud the spring is. It's right in that sweet spot.
And also pay attention to how he plays with the spring. It's like the primary ways to like do a dub mix, right? You have a few elements. You have a few things you would do. You either pull instruments in and out, which he does all over this, right? He's constantly pulling away guitars and pianos and basses and drums. Like he's constantly doing that, which is very reminiscent of like an actual dub mix, but he always lets the song shine through. It's always first and foremost, you're listening to the song, right? The other ways is with the other ways it can resemble a dub mix, and the other things he's bringing from dub mixing into the final mix of this record is use of effects, right? And oftentimes with dub, you'll have like a lot of like delay associated. There's not a lot of delay on this record. Like it's
almost none.
I'm sure there's some in there somewhere, but none that like really grabbed my attention.
Is there none?
Is there none? Like maybe not.
There might actually be no delay in these mixes.
Or maybe it's just so tasty it just kind of recedes into the background and you don't notice it. But
right, only that kind of like vocal delay that is intentionally
subtle.
Imperceptible.
Yeah,
and subtle. Yeah.
One of the other ways to introduce effects, those with like reverb, right? And the thing that he does though that goes the extra mile. It's not just listen to the spring and the level of the spring. He's constantly playing with the spring because he has a filter set up on the spring return, right? Or at least I believe it's on the spring return. And I think he has filters kind of set up on a few things. He's got on bass, on the drums. On the bass and drums, almost sounds like a filter bus that he has together in some instances on the record.
So it's definitely so. He's got either a band, what's called a band pass filter, or probably a low pass filter. Mm-hmm. But it's highly resonant.
Yeah.
The resonance is very high.
Yeah.
And so what that means is he's got a knob that will basically only allow a certain part of the sound to go through, not all of it. And as he moves the knob up and down, it has this effect of like,
and he's constantly just dancing with it. You can just hear him constantly. Like I'm imagining it's like Tubby had a big filter knob. That was one of the things in his studio. And I'm imagining he had that set up on the spring return or something, because he's just like constantly on every like drum transient, he's just dancing it with it, right? He's just kind of, sometimes he'll leave it alone, you know?
So you can hear it in the tracks where that reverb effect is going, and that is him, either him or an assistant that he has actually turning a knob to change.
Or is it possible that they did multiple passes, which I'm realizing right now is something I should do? Where it's like,
I don't know.
You set your spring and you have your printed return channel, and then you record a pass of it with this filter or something. Like, I don't know.
It's possible.
Yeah,
it's possible. And you know, let's put that on our list of
things
questions.
to ask him.
We're building a list of questions that we want to ask scientists. And that's one. Were all these mixes performed live, which I suspect they were?
Yeah.
Or was he able to get the mix down and then
do like
make adjustments? Do
like
an
a
effects
fun
pass,
effects pass.
Reverb pass.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because here's the second thing that you brought up that I want to hone in on, which is that he would do mixes that are of varying degrees of being dubbed, right? The more extreme version is what's on his actual dub albums, where the artist of the album is not Wailing Souls or anyone else. The artist is Scientist, right? And then the other end of the spectrum is there's no dub elements at all. It's just a mix of a song.
Which, like, can you imagine this record that way? It's hard for me to even like imagine that, honestly.
Well, some of them are. Some of the mixes, there are very few dub elements, and some of the other ones, like Oh What a Feeling and Kingdom Rise, Kingdom Fall,
super dubby.
Right, exactly. Like Kingdom Rise, Kingdom Fall, the piano and the guitar and the whole, and the organ, the whole skank element of the band goes away in the verse sections.
Yeah.
And when you listen to this record, it's important to understand that's not because the arrangement of the musicians. That's not because they stopped playing. That's because when Scientist was doing his mix of the song later in his other studio,
he took it out.
He pulled down the fader and he intentionally muted them during that portion and then brought them back in when he brings them in. And so whenever you hear the guitars and the pianos jump back in, he's controlling that. He's bringing them back from being muted. They played the whole time.
And you mentioned something too that I like. You're so right. Is that he infused an incredible amount of like energy and life into these mixes. They become really just delectable and delicious, and like it by him removing stuff and bringing it back and all this stuff, you pay attention to it, right? Or stuff that goes away, exactly. It allows you to pay more attention to Flab a Hold or the vocals or whatever, you know.
See, the reasons why this music is so good is the same reasons why any music is good, which is any in my opinion, any art, any storytelling, and that is the principle of tension and release. Mm. It's the It's the principle of buildup of energy and taking away of energy, right? That's why it's so exciting when the DJs at a rave does the bass drop, right? It's building up and it's taking away.
Yeah.
It's getting you ready for something, withholding it, and then delivering it. It's black, white, present, absent. So him introducing that stuff where sometimes these elements are there and sometimes they're gone. Now pay attention over here. Now pay attention over here. Now the drums come in and the chorus starts right here. It's all orchestrated. There's no mistake to any of it, you know, and it's not haphazard. He does it in concert with and in a dance with the arrangement of the song, of when a fool will fall, like when the payoff of the vocal melody comes back around again. It's all arranged in a very logical and even something that doesn't have logic. It's a very primal, satisfying way.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's all in service to emphasize the music, right? It's to emphasize musical moments, right? And to
embellish, enhance.
Yeah.
So that to me is the plague that this horseman brings, is the enhancement.
I think creativity, just like the freewheel, maybe not freewheeling, but just the creativity to make this more than what it is on paper, you know, like to make it special. He truly is like this special sauce on top, like
completely,
you know,
completely, because this record with no scientist is a dish with no salt and pepper.
Yeah, totally. It would still be like technically good, and the potential would be astronomical, but it would be really different.
Unfulfilled potential. Yeah. And this album doesn't have any unfulfilled potential. When you listen to these songs on this album, I mean, I don't know about you guys, listeners, you tell me in the comments what you think, but to me, when I hear it, that's what's so sublime and so satisfying about this, is that you're hearing, and it's evident as you listen to it. It's like, this has been perfected.
Yeah.
This is the finest state that this could possibly be in. And I'm hearing it right now. This is it. You know, so often when I listen to recordings of music from anywhere, but a lot of times recordings from Jamaica, like a lot of them, I feel like, it's such a shame that this isn't mixed better, or
it could be any number of elements, right, that are just missing for whatever reason.
But this and this music that comes from these Four Horsemen, you don't feel that. It's everything is like enhanced as well as it could possibly be. Every element is like perfect, you know? And so the next level of that, of what Scientist is doing, I want to talk about the drum sound.
Sure.
Okay? Because this is really important. So you mentioned earlier the great state-of-the-art recording setup that they had at Channel One, so that they could record these isolated drum tracks to be able to give to scientists to be able to work with.
Yes.
Right?
And I think you're about to point out the great irony of handing over Scientist this meticulously recorded, perfect sounding drum set, which is what?
Which is that he takes it and completely manhandles the sound.
Yes.
Okay? So think about this. All of you record listeners out there, think about this. When you listen to this record and listen to the drums, listen to the sound of this drum kit. We're listening to a man named Style Scott sitting at a drum kit, and he's playing it. He's got a hi-hat and a snare and a kick drum and some toms and some cymbals. Ask yourself this question. Does this sound like a natural, like real drum kit to you?
The answer is no.
Right.
The answer is definitely not.
If you were sitting or standing in the same room as a person playing drums, and you know what a drum kit sounds like, is that what this sounds like?
No.
And the answer is no. Not at all.
It's almost like what he does to a drum set is it's almost like if you were to turn like the saturation knob on like a picture up all the way, and it's like this hyper realistic version of a photograph.
Exactly.
It's like everything is
super red and super white and super black. And
And so it's like, obviously that's a picture of a drum set. I know exactly what that photo is, but it's like this hyper fucking stylized version of it. You know,
somebody just put every fucking Instagram filter on it and turned it up to 1 million, right?
Like, it's like, so, and what Brandon's getting at is like the kick drum is like the deepest, bassiest, thuddiest, fattest kick drum you can get, right? The hi-hat is like the thinnest, tightest, like a hi-hat. There's plenty of nuance to a hi-hat. It is a very high-pitched instrument, but there's plenty of fucking depth to it, right? There's plenty of thud. I've hit a hi-hat many a times where it's like thud, like, and there's all that top crispiness too. But it's like you can make a hi-hat fat. You can do it. It's possible, right?
Because in person, when you're standing next to a hi-hat, there's a wide range of its tonality. It's not only there's a chunky. There's a chunk. You know, there's an aspect to a person hitting the hi-hat that like shakes the floor. You can feel it in your feet. You can feel it in your body. You know, like
this hi-hat.
It's a multifaceted thing in reality, but on this record, it's been augmented and changed by using knobs and by using a mixing console to be a hyper exaggerated form of itself.
He's treating each individual drum as like an element on its own island, right? Like
exactly.
Yeah.
Each drum is a completely isolated, separate voice in this mix. Listen to any song on Firehouse Rock. The kick drum is over there. The snare drum is over there. It's another voice. It's another thing that exists in this sonic soundscape. The hi-hat is it's up there. It's way over there. And in reality, all of these things are being played by one guy at the same time, but that's not how it sounds. That's not how they're located in the way that Scientist dials this in.
In space, yeah. The spatial relationship even is like wild, you know? Yeah, and it's like we can speak to, Brandon and I very recently, we went and saw Scientist do a live dub show in Highland Park, and it was really fun. And we both noticed, like, this is, like, this was not something born out of like, oh, he's 20 and he doesn't know what he's doing. So he just like, oh, it's a hi-hat. I'm going to crank the high end up all the way. No, he still does this. This is like part of his methodology, part of his sound is this so unreal that it's the realest, dopest drum set you've ever heard technique, right?
45 years later, still doing it. And so that is part of the genius of Scientist and the robustness of this assembly line of the Four Horsemen thing, which is that across all these different recordings, Scientist was able to get this signature sound over and over and over and over again, right? When you listen to one of his dub albums, if you put on Scientist Rids the World or The Evil Curse of the Vampires, those were recorded from different album sessions.
Yep.
A lot of them are from Firehouse Rock. Some of them are from Gunman.
Yep.
Some of them are from a Johnny Osborne record.
I think there's one Yellow Man track.
There's a Yellow Man track
on there.
Right? So these were recorded at different, but he has such control where he can get this sound. I'm trying to think of a better term than just manhandling it. But that's just what he does. He just freaking grabs the sound and totally reinvents it. And this is back in the day before he could put samples in to augment and to supplement it. He just had to do it with whatever sound is on the tape. Dude, check this out too, by the way. I really believe that this whole workflow of Channel 1 tracks being recorded by the Roots Radics, being recorded by Junjo and being sent down to Scientist, is the point in time which there was a very, very fundamental shift in Jamaican music in general. And that is basically the fidelity that they were able to get, the fact that they're able to record each drum independently and in such high quality and pass it on to an engineer who's doing what he's doing with it. Channel One was famous for the drum sound, specifically.
Yeah.
And this was the era that I believe was where the music in Jamaica shifted from being music that was bass-centric to music that is drum-centric.
I think you're right about that. That is a really interesting insight, actually.
Because listen to Jamaican records before 1978, okay?
It's all bass, yeah.
Even going back to the 60s, the most prominent and the most important components in these recordings are two things. It's the bass and it's the vocals. There was a technical component that kept it that way. Because, like you said, so many recordings before were made on 4-track recorders, 8-track recorders, 6-track recorders, right?
And at that period of time, like, it was easier to record a bass well than it was to record a drum set well, right?
That's right. The bass, which is the other thing that can carry and establish the kind of energy that is particular to Jamaican music.
Like a groove.
Right. That's achievable with that technology. You can get that done, right? But drums, on the other hand, due to that limitation of how many channels you have, that means that you need to, at best, you're going to record the entire drum kit with a single microphone, okay? But most of the time, all of the sounds of the drums are going to be going into that same microphone that also other instruments are going into. So it's actually less than one microphone for all of the drums. And at best, one microphone for all of the drums.
On a great day, you get one entire microphone for the whole drum kit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now that gives you limitations to how hard can you make the drums hit in the final process. Enter our current era where we're talking about channel 1. You have an entire channel that is only the kick drum, an entire channel that's only the snare, an entire channel that's only the hi-hat, entire channel that's only the toms. The things that these guys could do with that, the final records. So the other important thing to understand about these mixes is that these drums are tuned to slam in a sound system.
Right.
Specifically.
Yeah. That was like the next stop prior to like mass consumption of these records. Like you go buy it at the store. The very next stop from Tubby's was getting it onto a sound system.
We come from America, okay? Our records from this great and golden era of the 70s and early 80s, these mixes, where they went after the mixing studio was onto radios, which we listened to in our cars and in our homes, and onto vinyl records that we took home and played in our houses, right? In Jamaica, where these recordings go to is huge, gigantic apparatuses of super loud, super high quality speaker systems.
Arrays. Giant speaker arrays.
Arrays that play these tracks at super high volumes that, you know, now we're used to hearing at concerts. You go to a rave, you go to something like that, right? If you listen, and I know that a lot of people that are listening that I'm talking to, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You have heard these recordings in this context. The way that these drums are mixed will make a whole lot more sense, because that is the context that they're mixed for, is for the kick drum to just fucking slam you in a full body experience, and for the snare drum to slap you across the face.
It's for a dance party. The kick and snare hit so hard it will physically push you back. Like,
exactly.
You know?
From this point in Jamaican music history onward, it's all about the drums. And that is something that a lot of the old heads really lament about Jamaican music. They always say they forgot how to make a bass line, man. Where's the bass line, man?
The best part about this period is it's like a weird nebulous middle ground zone where you still have both. You get the new emphasis and importance of the drum kit and the prominence of the drum kit, but you still have Robbie Shakespeare. You still have Flabba Holt, right? You still have these guys who are brilliant geniuses at crafting very satisfying bass lines.
It's such a good point. This is the period of time where you get that advent of the powerful drums, and you don't have to give up anything else.
No, you don't.
You still get the full power of all the rest of the musicians. So, that fourth horseman, the Roots Radics, the backing band. There is no Firehouse Rock. There is no this whole output of the greatest reggae music ever made that we're talking about without this backing band, the Roots Radics.
I mean, and in a lot of ways, like, they're it. Like, this is like what do you, the music, they made the music, like,
right. Everything that we're talking about is the way that they sound.
Yes.
What they played.
Yeah.
All the other stuff that people did to what they did. Played.
It's just like sweetening and detail work on top of their foundation that they built, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because Scientist had a very high degree of control over the tonality and the like the sonic signature of what they played. But this is before the time in music technology where he stood any chance to alter what they played.
True. Yeah.
He could not do anything about who played what note at what time.
Yeah, like, oh, he's late. I'm gonna nudge this. Like, no, that doesn't. That you can't do that.
This is before you could do that. Now you can
do anything.
Oh my God,
you can do too much, frankly.
You don't even need the musicians to exist in the first place anymore.
Yeah, look at us.
But yeah, exactly.
We're like an entire fake band. Good point.
So, all right. So when it comes to, we're not going to do a full-on deep dive into Roots Radics specifically. We talked about them a lot in a couple episodes ago in Gregory Isaac's Night Nurse, because they were also the backing band for that. That's funny because that's actually an album that they recorded after this, but we go into great detail about them. Check that one out.
Yeah. And that album is so well recorded that it's almost a better showcase of, like, if you really want to like nerd out and like really like dig into like all the little nitty-gritty details of like what they're doing as players. The Firehouse Rock is more of an amalgamation of all these things, right? It's just that they are the bed that allows all these things to kind of, they're the pot for this soup, right? Or they are the soup. I don't know. But I guess the studio is the pot. They're the soup.
Right. The production of Night Nurse stays out of their way more.
Yeah.
And the details of their musicality are much more on display.
Yeah.
And are not so obscured by the other genius elements of the production of Firehouse Rock.
That is a so much better way to put it than a soup comparison. Thank you for rescuing me there.
I do want to point out, though, something which I only barely touched on in the other episode when we talked about them, which is the bass player, Flabba Holt. He's the band leader of Roots Radics. So he has, I think we did actually talk about in the Night Nurse episode how he's simultaneously achieving all these really complex things that you need the bass line to do using as few notes as possible, right?
Yes.
But I want to highlight in this discussion, something else that he does, which is way more specific, which we can show to you guys, which is how he accomplishes that, which is that he leaves spaces in the bass note. Okay. So we were talking earlier about what makes things powerful is give and take, withhold and deliver and all that shit. So Flabba Holt, the thing that makes his bass lines distinctive, and they are distinctive compared to other Jamaican bass players, is that he will leave a space for either the kick drum or the snare drum to play.
Yes.
Okay. So
he will just not play.
He will just not play a note.
That beat.
In the moment where you're expecting a note, and he'll instead allow the drum to play that note alone by itself, specifically on one of the 4 primary beats. So when you're listening to a song on this album, you can count it to yourself 1, 2, 3, 4, and you'll notice that there's either a kick or snare or kick or snare on 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, right? So that's what I mean by the primary notes, 1, 2, 3, 4. So Flabba will leave a space. Okay, so you got 1, 2, 3, 4, and so notice how his notes that he's playing are exactly the same both times. Do do da, da, da. And then the second one. And then again. The difference is the timing. The first time that he plays it, it's along with the drummer. And the second time that he plays it, there's space. He moves his note out of the way so that the drummer will play it alone instead of together like they did the fourth time. The first time, I mean. Space. 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 How hypnotic is that?
Yeah.
Okay. It makes your body sway that much more.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and it's more interesting too. It becomes way less like banal. It's just a 1 degree of complexity in a tool shed, of like a million things that he can pull out, and that's just like one of them. Also, like in that same thing, we were talking about this before we started, but I think it's in the song "Who Lives It" is another great example of like, if you listen to what Flab is doing on that song, it's like the entire bass phrase is actually is a set amount of time, right? But the second time he plays it all the way through, he will do that same thing where he'll leave an intentional amount of space, right? And it becomes, what it turns into is like a phrase, whatever, maybe it's like 4-8 bars or something, is now actually double because he's actually repeating that entire pattern, right?
Right. Because he needs to put in the part where the space is later. Right, because this concept of leaving a space for one of those 4 primary beats is in literally every single song on this record. And like you say, sometimes the way that he makes it special is by covering the space and playing on it in the beginning of a phrase or like in the verse, and then when the chorus comes around, then he takes it away and leaves the space. And it makes something that would seem like a 1-bar loop or a 2-bar loop actually be like 16 bars long, because for its full phrase, you have to wait that long until it actually repeats what he's playing. Meanwhile, there's only 2 chords happening, Yeah, it's really sophisticated stuff. And speaking of sophisticated stuff, to me, the most clever and tastiest and classiest way that he leaves this space is in the first song, Firehouse Rock, possibly my favorite song in human history, which is Firehouse Rock. And this is my favorite bass ever. This is my favorite recording of a reggae rhythm section ever. It's the best. So the bass line of this, so check this out. Check out, see if you can find where the hole is. So this bass line has one note and then a series of two notes together. Boom. So it's 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2, right? But those 1, 2s are being grouped with another space. So they're actually in groups of 3. 1, 2, and 1, 2, and 1, 2, and 1, 2, and right? So they're offset by a group of 4. So that means that where the snare drum hits on beat 4 is right in the gap in between one of those 1, 2s. And like, you only notice it if you're looking at it on paper. If you like write out the notes on a piece of paper, it's like, oh, there's a little hole there. You don't even like your conscious mind doesn't pick up on the fact that snare drum on beat 4 is being played in a gap in between 4 bass notes.
I'm of the opinion that he is like a genius musical mind, but he's drawing from a deep well of like intuition and like feel rather than like, some kind of nerdy, like thinking it out ahead. Like it's too easy to dance to for it to not be that way. Also, I think like from really deliberately like putting a magnifying glass on him specifically through this series, like I think he's possibly one of the most underrated bass players I've ever even come across.
Those who know, they know. Flabba is a very famous person in a particular thing, but I agree with you that big picture, so underrated because in my opinion, the favorite best, he's my favorite.
Same.
And he might be the best.
He might be the best too. Yeah.
He might also be objectively the best, dude.
Yeah.
The more you learn about it, the more you look into it.
I think we're going to have to do a favorite best episode. We're just going to have to do an episode where all we talk about is we just pick a band and go favorite best.
Yeah. Two really interesting stories about the Wailing Souls. One is that they go so far back that they were kids along with the Wailers.
Wild.
Along with Bob Marley and Peter and Bunny Wailer. And when they were all kids and they were, so, there's the famous story of when the Wailers were like learning to sing. Before anyone was willing to record them and put them on a record, they sent them to Joe Higgs to get vocal lessons. So those vocal lessons, when Bob Marley and the other Wailer guys were kids and they were learning to sing, the Wailing Souls were in those lessons. There's another story. So they didn't have the right away success that the Wailers did, right? Wailers got the chance to sing at Studio One. During the ska era, they had Simmer Down, they had these other One Love and all these other hit songs and everything. They got some success early on from the time when they were teenagers. Wailing Souls didn't. It took them a bit longer. They didn't, because look at that time disparity, right? The first album that came out that carries Wailing Souls' name came out in what, like 78, 79. In 79.
Yeah.
But they're learning to sing in 1962 with them, though. So there's 17 years unaccounted for. Exactly. There's 17 years from that time when they were there in vocal school with the Wailers to when they got their shot and they found their success. So in that time, there's a story that the way that they got their name, the Wailing Souls, because they had a different name back when they were learning, is they lived in the Waterhouse district in Kingston. The story goes that they would be kept up at night due to how hungry they were.
Oh man.
They're so the pain in the stomach. They're so hungry that they can't even sleep. So they would meet at night and sing and practice together. I'm like starting to fucking cry talking about this. And they would do like vocal rehearsal at night instead of sleep because they couldn't even get to sleep because of how hungry they were. And they would call their songs food music.
Dang.
Because, I mean, the first thing that pops in my mind is like, well, we don't have any food, we can't eat anything, so we got to eat the music. But no, it was because they're like, in these middle of the night sessions, like, you guys, we have to get food with these songs. This is our way. This is the only way that we have to like get some bread on the table, man. We got to keep singing. And they did, man. And I swear I can hear it in these vocal performances.
Yeah.
On this record, when you hear the way that he sings the song Firehouse Rock, you know, the way that he sings in Oh, What a Feeling.
And I love, in the same way that we kind of used Roots Radics to point out, like, well, the whole reason you like this is because what these guys are playing. And it's like, yes, that's true. They played this stuff. But you could go a layer deeper than that, and it's like, well, the reason what they're playing is so good is because the Wailing Souls wrote this shit, right? Like it's because of the songwriting and the lyrics and the themes on this album are so deep.
Exactly, and those are the three things that Wailing Souls, these four guys, brought to the table for this record: the songwriting and the message and the lyrics, and just the actual musical vocal performance, which is on this, which is fucking beautiful and unbelievable.
Everything is like this really ribbony, like the leads are all like these really nice ribbony kind of textures, and the harmonies are just like angelic.
Yes.
Like very beautiful. It's like, again, like I think I said it in one of the older episodes, it's just like instant production value if you have a vocal trio or quad.
Quartet,
thank you. Oh my God.
Word is,
holy shit. A quartet. Wow.
Yeah, they have a very unique thing, especially Pipe Matthews, I think, because he sings on Firehouse Rock, Oh, What a Feeling, Kingdom Rise, Kingdom Fall.
All these are songs that have the qualities I'm talking about, where it's like it's soft and it's
the lead vocal. He settles back into the ensemble. He decorates the space, and he's even willing to like allow the intelligibility of his lyrics to even
fall to the ensemble.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So some of the easiest lyrics to understand are what the backup guys are singing, not what the lead vocalist is singing. How often does that happen in music?
Yeah.
It's almost always the opposite. It's similar to when we were talking about Victoria Legrand in the Beach House episode, where it's like she has this ability to, the timbre and the effect of her voice is so gentle, but I promise you, she's singing so goddamn loud, right? At the top of her voice. And I think that's the same with these guys. It's so delicate and they're just decorating, but you can't get that tone unless it's loud. So
I saw some video of performers singing in Channel 1, and the mic placement and technique really struck me, and I think it lends credence to exactly what you're saying. Like, I think I saw a video of the Mighty Diamonds, and it was like lead singer had U87, but was considerably far away from it. I'm talking like 2-3 feet, which is a lot further than you would think to stand from a microphone. And then even I really had trouble wrapping my brain around this. Then they had some dynamic directional microphones on the backup singers with some Sennheiser 421s, which are typically microphones used to mic like a drum set or something like that, or sometimes horns or whatever.
An instrument of some kind, rather than a vocalist.
Yeah. Also make for good vocal microphones, but wouldn't be like, I think, your go-to, especially for maybe something like kind of pretty and shimmery, like in a vocal trio. But even those guys were far away from those microphones. Far away
from a dynamic microphone. Now that's especially strange.
Super strange. Yeah. So it's
that's interesting.
Yeah. So, but I think it speaks to, I think it's like, it's hard to discern who's singing what. And I think that's intentional, not only by how they choose to sit within each other in the ensemble, but like, I think there's even in the way this is recorded, there's like intentional, like just overlap and crossover in capturing the ensemble so that they are kind of presented more as like a unified field of vocals rather than like, okay, we're going to start and we're going to turn up the lead and we're going to balance it this way like I would do it or something. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a much more like, I think, holistic and like comprehensive capturing of a group.
I really doubt that any particular mic setup or, methodology of miking a session would be unique to one of the artists. You know, that would have to be something that would be common across all the sessions that were done by a particular engineer or a particular producer. Or maybe literally every session at Channel One, even regardless of the engineer or producer, I would guess, right?
Yeah.
At least just following the logic of any session that I've ever been a part of. But I've never been in a session in Jamaica in the 70s. I don't know how they did it.
Sort of cheated on picking my 3 standout songs. So we didn't even go into like Scientist Rids the World of the Evil Curse of the Vampires and how inextricable that album is from this one because they share songs. Because so many of these songs are featured on that dub album, and I'm so familiar with, I'm 10 times more familiar with Rids the World of the Evil Curse of the Vampires than I am with Firehouse Rock. And I fucking love Firehouse Rock, okay? But that Rids the World is possibly in my like top 5 albums of all time. Like it is that special to me, right? So what I wanted to do was pick songs on Firehouse Rock that are not on Rids the World of the Evil Curse of the Vampires, because I thought that would make it a little more interesting. So it would be super easy for me to pick out Firehouse Rock, Oh What a Feeling.
Bandits Taking Over is on there. Who Lives It?
That's the other one I was thinking of, is Bandits Taking Over. So it would have been really easy for me to just pick those 3 and be like, all done. Okay, they're on Rids the World. That's why I love them. Yeah. But I wanted to pick some that aren't on there so that we could highlight some of the ones that maybe people like me are a little less familiar with. So the first one I want to highlight is Kingdom Rise, Kingdom Fall.
Nice.
Because of I think I'm discovering a new favorite like type of reggae song, which is the mystical, apocalyptic, harbinger of doom type of song. It's very
the natural mystic style.
Natural mystic. There's plenty on 27's Clash too that I think could kind of fall in this category. Although this kind of has like the subject matter of 27's Clash, but the vibe and tonality of Natural Mystic, which is such a fucking awesome pairing.
This is cool.
It's such a cool tune. And I was really stoned listening to this last night, and Kingdom Rise, Kingdom Fall came on, and I'm just like, is this literally written about right now? Like some of the lyrics are so prescient, are so spookily like referencing shit that you feel like you could just read in the news today, right? They're talking about inflation, and they're talking about how the economics are bad, and they're talking about how like Babylon is basically lashing out because of the shit that they're stuck in, right? And it's and the chorus, the refrain of the song is kingdom rise, kingdom fall, Babylon's back is against the wall.
Yeah.
And it's all about kind of like the death throes of empire, like the desperate wailing, to not use a better term, the desperation and the death throes of an empire that has brought this upon itself, right? And it feels like, I mean, it is written about America essentially, and capitalism and all these things that we talk about more in our bonus episodes, frankly.
Yeah, our bonus episodes have gotten really political lately.
Yeah. But that's okay. If you like that, go to patreon.com/backmarkdown. So I really, that one, it just it creeped me out listening to it. Cause I'm just like, I almost like I was a little too high, and I was just like, oh my God, it's the country's about to collapse and the government's collapsing. And like these guys like are writing about this 50 fucking years ago. And it's so clear to them back then. And it's like only when you're living in the muck and the mire of our current fucking situation, and then to have a song like this come across your periphery, and it just really, it just, everything like closed into focus for me. And I actually got scared. And when art can frighten me, especially when I'm stoned, oh my God, do I give that high marks? Holy shit, do I give that like almost the highest praise I can give a piece of art is like,
no pun intended.
Yeah. Like if art can actually give me the visceral panic that I feel that I could only share with like getting attacked by like a bear or something.
Question: are you susceptible to being frightened when you're high?
Yeah,
like,
big time.
Like so many people are. Okay,
big time.
So,
but I
so
look
the
at
being
it.
high makes this easier to accomplish.
Yes, it's like I'm like super susceptible to it.
Okay.
But
that normally comes from watching a movie where someone stabs someone in the face, not from listening to a singer sing some words.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
I see.
Like the last time I had this same emotion feeling well up while I was stoned, especially, it was a couple weeks ago. I watched Mulholland Drive, the David Lynch movie, and it was like visceral white knuckle terror that I felt watching that film. And this wasn't quite as strong as that. But I really did have like a slight moment of panic when I realized, like, man, this song is so fucking prescient and good.
Well, I'm really enjoying this new era of you being into the more mystical and more Rasta heavy music. You know, I'm used to that I'm the one that's into that, and you're way more resonating with the secular reggae.
Yes.
So I'm loving that you have an appetite for like, give me more biblical, please.
Dude,
give me more Rasta, please.
I am not a spiritual, well, I could say I'm a spiritual person. I am not a religious person at all whatsoever, right? So there's a whole bunch of stuff we get into in these records where I'm just kind of like, that's not for me. But I love that it's for them. I think that's what makes it so cool, is that it is for them and that they are so passionate about it, right? It makes it more interesting for me as a listener that they are so convicted in their beliefs, right? It does make for very interesting music. But I think you're right on the money in that exposing myself over and over and over again this summer to this stuff again for the first time in kind of a long time too. It has kind of renewed my fandom in reggae in like a big way. Like being able to like see the aspect of Rastafarianism that does resonate with me through music. Like I'm like, whoa. Like it's,
well, they say that the doorway to that sort of opens up more for you as you get older. You know what I mean? Like that sort of that time of being in later teens and through your 20s is sort of like the least spiritual time of your life. You know what I mean?
It's a very contrarian, very analytical, very like, you know everything type of period of time for most people. And I for sure, like, you know, the closer I get to being dead, which is any day now, it's like, yeah, you ponder stuff like this, and like, won't go into it, but like, you know, the last couple years I've gotten really into like meditation and stuff like that, and it just has opened me up to the possibility that I don't know everything. The possibility, mind you. Anyway, so yeah, that song fucked me up. I loved it. That song really got a lot of cogs turning in my brain last night. Second song that I loved is the song that follows Kingdom Rise, Kingdom Fall, called Act of Affection. Here's why I love this one. One, it's just a great song. It's just simply a great song. But I noticed something really interesting that they're doing in this song. And it's going to be, I'm a little dumb, but I'm going to try and explain it my best. Here's my thesis on this song. It is a series of choruses and then a bridge, and then choruses and a bridge. There's actually not a verse in Act of Affection. If you listen to it, Act of Affection is a chorus, but it serves the purpose that a verse would serve in like it has the effect of a verse, but it is a chorus. Like the way it's used,
you're right.
The way it's used is the same way they would use a verse in a song, right? And then the second section, which is like a chorus, I guess, it's like that part that's like bum 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 ba na 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 na. And then there's the big, like, I think they go to like a big like 5 chord or some kind of big turnaround chord at the end. It's like a bridge move. It's like what you would do in a bridge of a song, right?
Yes.
But it
totally is.
But if the choruses are the verse, that makes the bridge the chorus, right? Like it's musically sounds like a bridge, but it's in the place where the chorus goes. I've never heard a song like this, like that does that, right? Where the chorus is the verse, but it is a chorus, and the bridge is the chorus, but it's in the chorus hole. Yeah.
And on top of that, the chorus isn't even that lyrically complex. It is the same line 4 times without being changed. The melody doesn't change. The lyric doesn't change.
Yeah.
It is the act of affection that puts my love into motion.
Yeah.
Is there a variance on the next time? No, there isn't. It's exactly the same. And then we do it again here. And then it's gonna happen a 4th time. And then, and it, does it get boring? Do you get tired of it? No, the song ends and you put it back to the top of the song again because you want to hear it. How do you accomplish that? There's like a 3rd, 4th dimension that's being like communicated to you when you're listening to this, when he's singing it. Like he knows something. He's experienced something in life that is giving this like a certain energy where like he's allowed to sing that. He's allowed to sing it again and again and again and again. And that would annoy me if someone else kept singing it over and over. But he can do it.
They drive home the feeling that they're trying to get across by you meditate on that phrase over and over again. It is the act of affection that puts my love into motion. And you sit with that forever and you sing along with it and it until you absorb it, what the feeling that they're trying to put across.
Like he doesn't sing it once and then now it's passed you by and you don't have to, and now you get some distance from it. It makes you stay with it, keep thinking about it. You know, like everything that they teach, this is really, you're blowing my mind here, because everything that they'll teach you in like songwriting school is about setting up your motif of the melody.
Yeah.
And then next time when it comes around, make it just slightly changed a little bit different. Sort of like how in the bass line thing with Flabba Holt, right? Establish the thing and then move the note out of the way, shift it rhythmically, or you can shift the note up or down a little bit just to give a little variance. Why? So that it doesn't get boring.
Yeah.
Keep it interesting.
And to like set up other music, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And and you can do the same thing with lyrics. Alter the lyrics now, so that and for the same purposes. And guess how many of those suggestions or rules or conventions they do in this song? None of them at all. And it has the opposite effect. You don't get tired of it. You don't wish that they would stop singing it. You want to hear them sing it more and more and more.
Really, really amazing song, and just kind of blew my mind from like a song arrangement perspective. Just like, my last one is "A Fool Will Fall." I love this song. I don't have any like particular, nerdy insight on this one. It's just a beautiful fucking song. The vocals, the harmonies in particular are just extremely angelic. Yep, it's that one. Exactly. Yeah, so we've kind of already like dove into a little bit about what makes that song musically so satisfying. But like, yeah, the Wailing Souls in particular, this singer, it's just really pretty. So despite a lot of the descriptors we've used to describe this music, like it's dance music and it's heavy and all the instrumentation can be really angular and like saturated and big and loud and right. There's a really beautiful contrast happening on this record, which is that despite these like super heavy, bassy, kick, snare, heavy grooves and all this stuff, like a beautiful contrast to that is just this really angelic kind of floating along the top quality that the singers have.
It's true. And what better example of that than this song? Because what the bass and drums are playing is like...
Yeah, it's fat as fuck. I guarantee you, if you're in that room, it'd be loud as hell.
Yeah, man.
Like,
and just the fattest, deepest, heaviest, most aggressive bass and drum groove.
Yeah.
Nasty.
Yeah. So those are my three. Yeah. Deliberately kind of went around the Rids the World choices. But if I were being totally honest, I would have picked those three.
Okay. The ones that were on
yeah.
Rids the World.
They're the best. They're the fucking best songs ever made.
So, yeah. So for my picks for standout songs, yes, number one is Firehouse Rock. I said it before. I'm talking about all music ever that I've ever heard. This is one of my, this might be my favorite song that there is. This is perfect. I love reggae. I'm a reggae bass player. I love reggae rhythm sections. And I love, and then just even beyond the rhythm section, everything else that has to do with roots reggae, what it represents in all of its many facets. It's a many faceted thing, which is what makes it so endlessly fascinating and interesting, and I never get tired of it. And this is, it's the best in every single aspect.
Add to that fact that its sister song, its sister version, The Mummy Shroud from Rids the World, The Evil Curse of the Vampires, is equally as good, and it's a totally different version of the song, right? And it's a dub version of the song. So yes, for it to have that extra oomph behind it, which is that not only is the original absolutely sublime and perfect in almost every way, in such a way that you would be a fool to fucking change it even an iota. The fact that the complete reworking of it into a spooky horror mummy song works so well and is so good and is so good in its own right, completely on an island in its own fucking universe, working just as well for that purpose as it does for this. It's just, it's simply one of the best recordings ever made. Like it's.
So there's just to make note of some of the interesting things that you could point out about this song. Okay. So for one thing is, it's at a very slow tempo.
Yeah.
Very slow.
Really slow. Yeah.
And, as a lot of the tracks on Firehouse Rock and that Roots Radics would do on some of their other albums as well. They're like almost like alarmingly slow when you really look at it. Okay, so
like slow, I imagine it would be hard to play. Like,
exactly,
like really hard.
Firehouse Rock. This recording, this is at a tempo of 64 beats per minute.
That is extremely slow. And for this particular rocker style, that is like notably slow.
Exactly.
And it's such a cool fucking part. It's, it's so
right?
Stupid how cool that is.
So another notable thing about this is that it demonstrates this song is like a quintessential thing to demonstrate something that I feel is so important to understand about reggae musically, and that is very little understood by those of us who are foreigners, non-Jamaicans who play reggae, which is, okay, when you think about reggae and how it's musically different than any other style, just the first thing that pops in your head is what? Chick-it, you play the upbeat.
Yes.
Right? Everybody knows that. But dude, put on Firehouse Rock and find where the emphasis is. And this is the secret. All of you reggae players and aspiring reggae players out there, the emphasis is on the downbeat. The downbeat where the bass and the drums hit is it. See, the thing about reggae is it has the feature of the upbeat.
It's like 1 and 3. 1 and 3 is the emphasis of that groove.
Exactly. It has the presence of an upbeat in it that no other style of music has, but the downbeat is emphasized even more in reggae, not less, right? Everything is that's where all of the weight of the groove is. So speaking of contrast, like how we were earlier, so when you're in the reggae band and your job is you're playing either the guitar or the piano or the organ or whatever instrument is playing the upbeat, if you can play it in a way where you are feeling the downbeat as a heavier weight than what you're playing, then you can unlock it, because what you're playing is an augment and an accent to something else that carries more weight. So you're not trying to take the weight by playing the upbeat. And this is the mistake that so many of us foreign reggae players make, is that everyone in the band, even the bass player, even the drummer, and especially those guitar players and keyboard players, they're feeling the weight, the rhythmic weight on the upbeat. And that's why it sounds wrong.
Right. Yeah, it sounds white.
That's why it sounds white. Exactly.
Yeah. You allow your body to feel 1 and 3, and that should be your focus, and almost a secondary should be what you're playing on 2 and 4, right?
Exactly. You feel it.
Yeah.
This will be the last thing that I say about this amazing song, even though there's 90 bazillion other things that we can go into, which is the lyrics. The first verse of the song, okay, the lyrics go, their eyes are staring. They are comparing the difference between I and you. Ears are listening, mouth keep on chattering, trying to find out what I and I know. So he says the phrase I and I in there. And that's something that we've been hearing in every one of the reggae albums that we've been doing so far. I know that, how many of you guys listening already know the full story of what that's about. But this, like what does that phrase mean? It's so famous. You hear it, you hear Rasta people say it in their music and in their speech all the time. What exactly does that mean? This comes to another aspect of the Rasta worldview and the Rasta way of life, which this is, to me, is my favorite, like the most fascinating, most interesting, my favorite aspect of the whole picture, because of how impactful it is in a secular way, for someone who's not Rasta. And that is the concept of words, sound, and power. And what words, sound, and power means essentially is you change your words, you change your reality. Right? The words that are coming out of your mouth determines your reality. And they really mean that in much more than a positive thinking kind of a way, much more than like a good advice kind of a way, but like a literal principle of how reality works. And so it's a core tenet of the faith that the one of the principal methods of enslavement and keeping people in a cage is by doing so with language. So it's very important to them to notice the fact that the people who took them to the Caribbean and put them in chains also took away their language and gave them the English language.
Right.
So in the way that Rastas speak intentionally removes aspects of the Babylon's language, which is English, takes away aspects of English in the way that they use it that serve the intentions of Babylon, and they change them to take a new form that matches their reality, the way that they intend to live and to see the world. So they alter the language in the belief that you alter your language, you alter your reality. For example, they don't say the word dedicate or being dedicated.
Right. It's like lifeicate or something.
They say livicate.
Livicate, yeah.
Because it has the word dead in it.
Right.
Which is contrary to what you actually mean when you're trying to express that you're dedicated to something.
Right.
You're actually trying to evoke life.
Yeah.
Right. That this is the purpose. This is the aim of my life. So why would I say dead? I'm going to say livicated. Right. They don't say oppression. They say downpression. Because when you downpress someone, you keep them pressed down. You don't lift them up. So why would I say oppression? That makes it sound like you're lifting me up, when in fact what you're doing is completely taking away all of my opportunities to live an upward momentum in my life. I'm going to call it downpression because that's what you're doing.
Yeah, this is also where you can really run into, like, if you already thought you didn't understand patois because of the accent, this is where shit can get real tweaked real fast for you as far as understanding goes.
Because this is a third layer, right? Because there's Jamaican English, which is the English language that is spoken, in a manner and with an accent that is Jamaican. Okay, there's that. Then there's Jamaican patois, which some would say is a different language, and there's a continuum between those two. These things, this is a third layer. This is Rasta patois that is unique to to Rastas, which is even itself a small minority of people who speak patois. There's another cool thing where they'll say that like something that you took from me, I want it forward.
Instead of I want it back.
Instead of saying that I want it back. Because they say like the treasures that the Europeans stole from Africa, we want them forward. Because we can't change the past. We don't actually want to go back thousands of years ago to the point at which you stole them and to try to be those people. That can't be done, and I don't even desire to do that.
Yeah.
What I want is to live my life now and into the future, where those treasures of my ancestors are back with us now and into the future. We want them forward.
Yeah.
We don't want them back.
Yeah.
right?
Interesting.
Because they systematically identify and remove the negative
connotations
creating aspects
of words
that are built into the colonizer's language and replace them with positive, life-affirming language that actually matches the way that they intend to live. And it goes on and on and on and on. There's way more to this than what I'm saying. But this term I and I is possibly the most important phrase in this, because going back to the lyrics of Firehouse Rock, their eyes are staring, they are comparing the difference between I and you. Basically, the whole fact that English has a word for you and a word for I is building in a belief that there is a difference and that there is a separation between I and you. And he's saying that Babylon, they're obsessed with analyzing and seeing what is the difference and pointing it out and drawing attention to the differences between people.
Right. It comes from, I think that probably comes from like a Western society, and capitalism is so individualistic focused. Like everything is about the individual. Everything is about like, pick yourself up by your bootstraps. You fucking do it. It's like a de-emphasis on community, right?
Exactly.
Whereas this is the opposite of that. Like it is.
Exactly.
It is. We are all in this together.
And it makes possible a society where there can be someone who's rich and someone who is a slave. Because I'm me and you're you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So then, the last line of that, their mouth keep on chattering, trying to find out what I and I know. So what they say is I and I. That's the way that I refer to me. That's the way that I refer to you. And that's when I'm talking about us, it's the same phrase, I and I, because the same God that is in me is the same God that is in you. What is the difference between this person here and that person there where you are, right? They build it into their language so that when you and I are speaking, there's just the linguistic acknowledgement of the sameness between us.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's out on the table. It's out in the open. The acknowledgement that, listen, you and I are children of God, where there's neither one is above, neither one is below. And
I love that, honestly. I appreciate you breaking that down for me, because I never understood what he meant by any of that. And I'm sitting here realizing that it aligns completely and totally with my philosophy on everything. My feelings, my philosophy, politically, economically, spiritually, everything. I could boil down to like I essentially agree with exactly what he's getting at in that song.
And it points out something. This is a core tenet of Rastafari, man. And when you start looking at it through that lens, it's astounding what you really see, what comes out of our mouth. The things that we say to each other and to ourselves when we're alone, and the way in which we say it, the manner in which we say it, the ways in which we pick our words to express what we're trying to say. And you look at it through that lens, it's like there's some like necessarily negative realities that are being made. You know what I mean? We're like expressing ourselves in ways in which there is no alternative to seeing it negatively.
Yeah.
By the way that we said it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's all like structural stuff.
Exactly. Right. So they, in their freaking religion, have a system of
getting around that,
of remedying that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's codified into their lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
I'm sitting here like, will I be Rastafari by the end of the 6 weeks?
Ross Trent, bro.
Ross Trent, let's go. Definitely.
Read a book about Selassie. I've been told
not.
my bumper-clad parents I was switching religions.
I could never do it, because that would mean I'd have to give up my citrus yuzu smash, which I won't do.
Yeah, I'd have to give up White Claw. Yeah, man. Smoke from the chalice, Ify make from a White Claw can.
Okay, you're only on song 1 of your 3 favorite songs. What the fuck's your other favorite songs?
My other 2 songs that I picked were Act of Affection and A Fool Will Fall.
What the fuck? Okay, shit.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Then we already talked about those.
Yes.
Holy shit.
But how great this album is this kind of discussion could be had for every single song.
Yeah, easily. Easily.
Fans of the show and everybody who's been listening to the episodes up till now, you'll know that we've been harping on this idea that reggae comes from misery.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Reggae comes from suffering.
Yeah.
Okay. And the
reggae that doesn't kind of sucks.
Right.
Sorry.
And the part of the point is how many people there are who fit that description, right? This whole era is full of singers and musicians and producers and engineers who come from that, and that's their life experience, right? It's not unique to Wailing Souls. And there isn't anyone who encapsulates that better than Wailing Souls when you listen to them and you learn about them and you hear just what's behind their voice when they sing and what's in their lyrics and in their biography and everything, right? And now that being said, now I'm going to say the next thing, which is that it's not lost on me. I do know that there's a next chapter after that, because it is true what everyone who barely understands reggae, it is true what you say, which is that it's about love and it's about joy and it's about unity and it's about the simple truth that there isn't anything more important than that you and I get along and that we enjoy being happy together.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing that is important to know, right?
Yeah.
That is true. However, the reason why I harp on all the other stuff so much is because I feel that you don't get the full picture of why that's so profound and why that's such a beautiful message that reggae has, is because it hits different when it's from that road.
That messenger.
When you took that road to arrive at that place.
Yeah.
If you take the shortcut to the end, it's not the same.
Yeah.
Right? As when you travel the long road and what you find at the end of that road is not the robbing and the killing and the gangsterism and the political factionism that these singers and these musicians and these individuals are surrounded by, right? There's so many great artists that came from Jamaica during this time with this message of love. But for every one of them, there's 10 or more of them who were making bad shit happen for all these other innocent people out on the street. Right? That's who they had to contend with. That's who killed Paul Hukim and killed King Tubby and all the rest. So the reason why I focus on the violence and the suffering and the poverty and the hunger is because of the power that it gives to the message of love and togetherness.
The fact that, like, the feeling and message that so many reggae artists want to leave you sitting with is like to feel love and to embrace your community and to uplift people. The fact that that is the message, but it has been born out of so much suffering and strife and terror inflicted upon these people who sing these songs, it makes that message all the more profound, right? So yeah, next episode will be Heart of the Congos by the Congos. Go ahead and get started on your homework for that one, because that is going to be a fucking meal.
Yeah, man, dude, it's so cool because this one, we're talking about Firehouse Rock, which is like a paragon of intentionality and like scientifically perfected reggae in a lab.
Yeah.
And we're doing it in between. On the left side of it is 2/7's Clash.
Yeah.
Right? An exuberant church revival in an album. And then on the other side, next episode, we're diving deep into the opposite spectrum of reggae.
Yeah.
We could not be more diametrically opposed to another universe that is within this same narrowly specific genre of roots reggae from the same era. And we're going into mystical, occult,
weird.
Like we are going to a place where there is no science.
No. All science is now art.
We're going to the spirit world in the next episode. And I'm so excited for this. Just like
we're going
stop, turn, change, going there now, you know?
Yeah, me too.
I'm stoked.
I'm extremely stoked for it. And yeah, we couldn't illustrate the differences between us musically and philosophically better than just by the records that we picked, aside from maybe Exodus. Exodus was, that was a special situation for me because I wanted to pick something specific for that first one. But yeah, I mean, between Firehouse Rock and Night Nurse, that is one school of thought of reggae that is very Brandon, and although I fucking
it's true.
Although I fucking love it. And then there is the embrace the chaos of 2/7's Clash and Heart of the Congos, which is kind of way more in my stratosphere where I like to exist.
Some men just want to watch the blunt burn.
Yeah,
which is Nate's
which is me
zone.
I'm so excited. I'm more excited for Heart of the Congos. I've been the most excited for that one more than anything the whole season.
The whole story behind it is so fascinating, so interesting.
Yeah, it really is.
I'm glad that we're finally here.
Yeah.
I get to start listening because I've been holding off listening to it.
Same. I haven't listened to it yet either. I looked at it today on my shelf. I passed by it on my vinyl shelf and I said, not yet. Tomorrow. Not yet. Literally tomorrow I'm going to listen to it.
Yeah.
Anyway, with that, thank you all so much for listening to this whole series this summer. It's been so much fun. And if you want more, we're doing bonus episodes on Patreon, patreon.com/blackmarketdub. We actually have an extremely special bonus episode planned for next week. We also do a blog. I write a blog every other week that kind of covers additional albums that can kind of put these picks that we're doing in context a little better. Like today for this episode, we released a blog that was all about just essential Channel 1 cuts. And like we said at the top of the episode, there's so many that we left out, like a million. Really inexpensive too. We start at $1, goes all the way to $5 a month. And with each level up in payment, you kind of get more access to different kinds of content. We're also a band. All of our music is on blackmarketdub.bandcamp.com for free digital download. You could just download it all for free if you want. We don't give a fuck. And if you want to buy our shit on if you want to buy our music on vinyl, you can get that. There's a couple records on Bandcamp that you can buy that we still have in stock. And then there is more that we are both featured all over on escapehatchrecords.com, which is the label that we're on and affiliated with, as well as a million other great bands that you got to check out. Go to escapehatchrecords.com.
All right, everyone, remember, lying down is just for a moment, and righteousness is everlasting foundation. The sorrows in our heart and in our spirit are broken. But don't stop being kind to one another. Goodbye.
We